I think there are so many facets to this virus that people are struggling with right now. And I think one of them is the loneliness that comes with socially distancing ourselves from each other. But I think perhaps an even deeper level to that is for those who actually feel like this has put God at a distance as well. And this next question speaks to that from Kenster, who writes, in general, I feel very confused and exposed, vulnerable. I don't know what will happen and know that being a Christian doesn't exempt me from troubles to come. How does one really pray in these times? Kenster, I just want to thank you for vocalizing what I think so many millions of people are feeling right now. They're feeling confused and exposed and vulnerable. But I think with so many things that are changing around us right now, there's a fundamental truth that doesn't change, and that is the fact that God is the one through whom and in whom all things hold together. There's a sense in which the only reason I have the next breath to take is because beneath it all, God is sustaining the universe and this planet and my very life, and that hasn't changed in the slightest. And I think what's going on isn't that we've become more mortal. I just think it's been inescapably and overwhelmingly put in our faces just the fact of how vulnerable we truly are and always have been, that we are mortal, that we do have a finitude to our lives. And that's something that typically we can live in denial of, because in our culture we've sanitized these things. We push away sickness, we push away the dying, even corpses are removed from us. I think it's Aldous Huxley who made the comment that for most people we live as if death were merely an unfounded rumor, and suddenly we can't escape from that anymore. And I wonder if the reason people are feeling panicky, maybe it exposes the fact that actually perhaps if you're struggling to trust in God in this season, it might expose that maybe it wasn't so much God that you were trusting in before, but the safety of your circumstances. And so perhaps the place to start when we're wondering how to pray is just to acknowledge, actually, yes, we're not in control. We are so far out of control, but you know what? We actually never were. We never were in control. God is, however. And there are words that I find extremely comforting that Jesus spoke actually on the way to his death to his disciples when he said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. And when I think about that, it encourages me in how I want to pray, because that is spoken by a God who is personal, a God who's not disengaged or removed from our suffering, but who came that close to be with us in it, which means when we're talking to God in this time, when we're praying, we don't need to try and get his attention. Everybody else may be distanced from you, but God has not socially distanced himself from you. He is right there. The Bible speaks of God as being very close to the brokenhearted in particular. And so that means we can speak to him in a personal way. That means if you are angry, you can tell him. That means if you're scared, you can let it out. If you are despairing, you can cry about that to God. That's the kind of authentic relationship that he wants with you. But it also means that because Jesus has overcome the world, we can approach prayer from an eternal perspective, that actually no matter what this life may throw at us, no matter what we endure in life or death in this world, that actually the Bible speaks of eternity as being set in the hearts of humankind. The truth is, you were made for so much more than anything that this world could contain or throw at you. And so when we're struggling with these things, there's a security that comes from knowing that actually there is an eternal God, that we are made to be eternal as well. And that is a truth that also cannot be shaken here. And it makes me think of the words of our dearly beloved colleague, Nabil Qureshi, who a few years ago was diagnosed with terminal stage 4 stomach cancer. And he died a couple of years ago. And I remember him saying that actually what the resurrection of Jesus Christ means, the very act that overcomes the world, what that means is that if you come to a point in your life when there is no hope, well, death is not the end. There is more. There is hope no matter what. And yet from that place of security, that doesn't mean that we can't ask God for things now. And I think this is so crucial when it comes to the way that we are asked to pray. I think sometimes as Christians, we can be so nervous about asking God for things and not getting the answer that we want, that we kind of perform these calculations in our head where we first try to work out what will God say yes to and what will he say no to before we dare to ask him anything. But again, I think that's an example of us trying to stay in control because we're already deciding for God what he wants to do, rather than bringing it to him and letting him be God and do what he will do. And when we read the New Testament, Jesus calls us to pray audaciously and boldly. He says, if you ask for anything in my name, I will give it to you. He says you don't have because you don't ask. And he tells the story of a persistent widow who goes and knocks on a judge's house, on his door, night after night at midnight, begging him for justice, and says that's how you ought to approach prayer, with that kind of persistence. Because if even an angry, unfair judge is eventually going to roll over and respond, how much more would a just and loving judge who is God? So I want to encourage you, take your request to God. Ask him for healing. Ask him to provide for your daily needs. Why? Because he's a good God who loves to give good gifts to his children. So in this season where we may feel quite isolated, I just want to encourage you, it's Lent, during Lent, to press further into God, to see this as a time when you can lean into prayer, to getting close to him. And if you're someone who's watching and actually you haven't prayed for a really long time, or maybe you've never prayed, don't be afraid of prayer. Actually, God welcomes your prayers. I think he would love to hear from you. You don't need to worry about what to say. Just come to him honestly where you are. And our prayer is that you would encounter a God who is profoundly close to you during this season.